Okay. Adam. Adam.
That's me.
I've got two jokes today.
Oh no.
Yes. First one is, what do sea monsters eat?
I don't know.
Fish and ships. And my second joke is, why can't you hear a pterodactyl using the bathroom?
Because the P is silent.
Ah, you finally got one. Finally got one. Well,
Also, I thought you were going to say, what do sea monsters smoke? And then you would have said seaweed.
but obviously I'm not supposed to have good jokes, I'm supposed to have bad jokes.
Of course, I'm sorry.
Fish and chips. Anyway, good day. Welcome to another video of the worst of Doctor Who marathon.
Oh dear.
And this week it's an extra special one. And of course we are watching Warriors of the Deep, which I haven't seen in full, but I've seen some clips of. I'm quite scared because there's been a few top 10 lists where I've seen this at number 1 for worst classic story. Have you seen this story before?
No. Just like you, I've only seen clips and photos.
All right. Well, that's concerning. Well, before we get into that, I'll just mention if you would like us to add any classic stories to this list, suggest. And if there are any New Who stories you think are worse than Hellbent, then comment what you think's worse, and we'll have to defend it, as we will do at the end of this video. And also, if you would like to support this channel, you can check out our Patreon. We have some tiers that allow you to get rewards, and that will help us upload stuff to you quicker and in better shape.
Better quality.
And the other thing is, this story that we're going to be watching today is my 100th classic story. And of all stories, it's Warriors of the Deep. So, yeah, not the best, is it?
No. Well, it might be. All the reports could be wrong.
They could be. But yeah, I'm anything else you want to say before we dig into this episode?
God help us.
Hope you enjoy this video, because I'm sure we won't. Okay, so this is the Beneath the Surface box set, and if we look at the front here, we got Pertwee, we got the Silurian, Sea Devil, and I believe that's the Merca, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yep. Great designs from great episodes, and then we turn to the back.
Oh dear.
And we have a downgrade in all 4 departments. Look at that Silurian. Looks like plastic and rubber and
Horrible.
things you would find at a trampoline place.
Yep.
I don't know why the Sea Devil is wearing a helmet.
It looks like a samurai helmet.
Yeah, and the Merca looks...
Like a cock with those 2 little, those silver balls. Those little things you put on cakes and stuff.
It's, yeah, it does, doesn't it? And we've got Peter Davison, our favourite Doctor.
Yeah.
Obviously.
We love you, Pete. I've met him. He's lovely.
Yeah, Peter Davison's lovely, but
His Doctor.
5th Doctor? Not so sure.
Yeah.
And the story we're going to be watching is the worst one from this box set by far, unless we're proven wrong, and that's Warriors of the Deep.
Ooh, my God.
Now that is a cool cover.
Yeah. Interesting.
Makes the designs look less shit.
But that's just probably because of the colour palette.
The interesting thing about this story is I haven't seen the Silurians or the Sea Devils.
Oh.
So this is a strange way to watch them.
Yeah.
But looks like shit.
Very white.
What the
Very
fuck?
clinical.
What is Tegan wearing?
This was 1984, right?
Yeah.
The best explanation I can come up with.
And I believe that's the Merca, isn't it?
Oh God, yes, I've seen. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I've seen clips of it.
Here it is. Warriors of the Deep struggles to deliver the dramatic impact it has on paper. Sadly, this is epitomised by the unintentionally absurd appearance of the Merker, which, despite only appearing briefly on screen, contrives to disproportionately impinge upon an otherwise thought-provoking tale. There really should have been another way. So you know it's bad when the BBC say it's bad.
Yeah, they come out and
because
just admit.
they never admit that Doctor Who's bad, ever. So let's crack into it.
Let's do it.
Awesome foursome.
Let's do it.
This DVD's like better quality than the other ones. It's from 2008.
Oh, okay.
Had fun watching Journey's End by Warriors of the Deep on DVD. Experience more Doctor Who.
It's a trick.
Johnny Byrne's back. He wrote Arc of Infinity. So now we're going to have Johnny Byrne write Malcolm Hulke's characters
Oh God.
instead of Bob Baker and Dave Martin's characters.
Oh God. Interesting set.
White futuristic set.
Yeah. It looks like a submarine futuristic base. I'll give it that.
Okay.
If that's what it's supposed to be. An underwater base.
They're wearing tassels. Ooh.
I love little miniatures.
Yeah, Thunderbird's Thunderbird's charm.
Yeah. It's the same thing with the old Godzilla films. Even the crap ones.
Yeah. Something so satisfying about watching a miniature turn.
Yeah. Especially because you know it's probably on strings
Yeah.
and the fact that they'd have to turn it with such
Yeah.
like care.
It's also because I think they. Excellent.
skip us.
They look so much shitter than the original Silurians. TARDIS is a teleprompter on it.
He's had a haircut.
Ah, Turlo. Turlo. Has he just gotten out of bed or something?
They look quite knackered.
I thought I would learn more if I stayed with you. It's true. Of course. I mean it. I believe you.
Wait, so did he just sleep on the TARDIS?
Thankfully, this is the season where Davison kind of figured it out.
Yeah.
Like, I can already tell he's
He's
improved.
He's got, instead of just the boyish, foppish thing,
Yeah.
he's actually got a bit more of the old grumpy man sort of just under the surface.
Yeah, it's good.
Like, it's like what I really like about Matt Smith when he's at his best.
Yeah.
Is when the old man...
Series 5.
Yeah, when the old man shows.
It's almost like Matt Smith has the reverse Peter Davison.
Yeah, with the exception of Name of the Doctor.
Oh, true. And Dave the Doctor.
Yeah, of the Doctor trilogy, even though he's not in Night, but...
Well, Time of the Doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. He looks anxious.
Yeah.
He's sweating. Okay. So they've detected the Silurians' entry or something.
I think so, yeah. And he's been told to investigate. Oh, he's not well.
Oh, okay.
Is he a Silurian in disguise or something?
I don't like the lights that...
No. Their spines look like those foam puzzle piece mats. You know the ones that like interlock?
I've never really had a massive problem with shit production.
No, neither.
So this doesn't affect me as much as it affects other people.
Not at all. Like I can watch
It's
something which, as long as it's got an interesting story.
it's pretty funny though. Having said.
Yeah. Like I laugh at it, but it doesn't ruin
No.
it for me.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, it
it's
endears
kind of
me.
got that you know when you go to the Easter show and they've got those real cheesy rides and stuff. It's kind of got that feel to it.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable enough.
But yeah, but then sometimes old Doctor Who had amazing
Oh yeah.
things they did with the budget.
Oh yeah. I like their eyes.
Yeah, the eyes are cool. The lighting of the base is interesting.
That's my own fault.
Ah, there she is.
Change it for a safety card.
So what's the problem?
Fucking hell. I feel like I've been to a place that looks like this.
She looks like Emma Thompson.
I mean, Emma Thompson's like a female Johnny Depp in that you don't really know what she looks like.
It's true.
Funny how some celebrities do that. They play so many things and they have so many visual, fake-looking characters and whatnot.
That's what they.
That when someone says to you, what do they look like, you struggle to think what they actually look like.
Yeah, well, it's, yeah.
'Cause when someone says Emma Thompson, I think, well, there's Trelawney, but then there's also Nanny McPhee, and they look completely different.
Yeah,
You know?
and then sometimes she's got like platinum blonde hair, and other times it's
Yeah.
brunette. And I mean, that's just part of being an actor. But some actors have particular iconic roles that stick with them in terms of how they visually look.
Sean Connery.
Yeah. There's two Sean Connerys in my
true,
brain.
True, yeah. Because I got Indiana Jones first,
Ah, yes.
before James Bond.
Yes.
So I tend to remember him as the old man first, I
Yes.
think.
The bald head and the
Yeah.
grey beard. Even though he's like only 8 years older than Harrison Ford.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Ooh.
Flip-flop.
That's an exciting word. Flip-flop.
Flip-flop's an editing technique. I kind of like how useless the Fifth Doctor is, though. It's interesting.
Well, the fact that everything just eventually falls apart around him,
Yeah.
regardless of his best efforts, which ties into why the Sixth Doctor is the way he is.
Yeah.
Other than, the whole strangly evil bit. But
Well.
we'll get to that.
Well, we were talking before about mental health.
Yeah. That's on an extreme level.
Missile Run, is that composed on screen? Like, that's not... That's like post-production.
Is this one of the special edition DVDs that have been updated in terms of the transfer and little?
No,
Uh,
no.
I wouldn't think so, but
No, because I
Yeah.
think it's just because it's from 2008, so it's despite the fact that it's 10 years old, it's sort of one of
Yeah.
the later ones.
yeah.
Like if you look at the Robots of Death one from 2001, it looks awful.
Yeah.
In progress.
What?
Prepare the sync
They
up.
couldn't call it photon torpedo.
Sorry, I just thought the set's lights turned up.
Without you,
So does he have anxiety or does he have an infection?
I think he's stressed out. I feel like we're supposed to think it's just him being under the pressure of having to fire a missile and also
And then like
also being thrust up the ranks when he doesn't feel he's ready. But I have a feeling that later on it's going to tie into something more dramatic in terms of
it'll get to the cliffhanger and
Yeah.
then we'll see bubble wrap coming out of his skin.
something like that.
Yeah.
relax.
Oh.
Oh, is are there going to be needles that go into his brain?
Oh no.
That's gnarly.
Oh. He kind of looks like Peter Davison.
I
a
was
little
just about to say the same thing. Yeah.
bit. Of a nitpick, but I do get a little bit triggered when characters
Type.
type and they just type gibberish.
No, I'm the same.
Yeah.
I'm just like most people know how to type.
Yeah.
Even back then, people usually were
That's-
taught on typewriters.
You notice they're using like Atari graphics.
I was thinking of like an old text adventure like the Oregon Trail or something.
And this is supposed to be 2048.
Maybe this will happen. Maybe we'll get
In
to.
the distance, it looks like Peter Davison's face. Like in the distance.
He looks more like Peter Davison than the guy that got to play Omega, who was cast because he looks like Peter Davison.
Yep. Is she wearing yellow stockings?
Yeah.
It seems to be a ship of some kind.
Thanks for that, Teller.
He's such a weirdo, eh?
Johnson's master's dressed almost exactly like him in the Last of the Time Lords. Just the generic suit.
Well, politician.
True.
This is like the sound effects they use in the music that they play during rally. That sort of techno rock. Imagine watching this without subtitles. Impossible.
Yeah.
I like the spines. How, like, they are. No. They're a little bit generic in the way they speak.
Yeah. Like less aggressive, like subdued Daleks.
Yeah.
In terms of it's very
Yeah.
staccato, I think's the term.
What have I contributed to this show? Absolutely nothing, Tegan.
Say it again, y'all!
Hexachromite gas. Communicating with someone that's unconscious.
Yeah.
Oh. No.
Body horror freak you out.
Oh. God.
It's not as bad as the stuff from the Planet of the Ood. Guy coughs up in his face.
For some reason that one doesn't bother me as much.
It doesn't bother me too badly, but I think it's grosser because I don't like tentacles.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I feel like I've just nightmares of parasites getting in your head and stuff like that. Stuff scares me.
You haven't seen the Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, have you?
I think I may have, but years ago.
Because there's a scene where there's a mind control like weevil bug that gets forcibly inserted into Chekhov's ear, and it's horrible. Like they've got tweezers and drop it in.
Oh no! Have you ever seen the movie Slither?
Yes.
That's the kind of horror that scares me.
Oh, it's so gross.
It's just disgusting. She's like sitting in the bath,
Yeah.
and then like you just see this.
Yeah.
It comes out of her chest. Ugh.
You should watch From Beyond and Reanimator and The Fly and The Thing. All four of those you'll love if you hate body horror.
When I was a kid, I used to get scared when Quirrell crumbles into when his skin starts to.
I hated it when he took the thing off and revealed that he had another face
yeah.
attached to the back of his face.
Yeah.
That's what freaked me out.
Yeah. But like when his skin starts to crack, it's like oh.
Nasty.
So what have they done to him?
Reprogrammed him to get rid of the stress, and so he's confident enough to.
So this is kind of like Gridlock when they put the stickers on.
Yeah, kind of.
Sort of more
but
technological.
and also a bit more because he was under, so he didn't consent to it. So they're doing it potentially against his will.
Yeah.
Come on.
You didn't even give it a proper look.
No. How much was the budget for this episode?
Well, I'm not sure about the budget, but I know that it was a rushed production. And that's why it's so,
Because there's a lot of different rooms that are clearly all sets, which interests me.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just borrowed a building.
I'm already feeling the episode 3 fatigue, and we're on episode 1.
Yeah. This is the Sea Devils, right?
Yep, that's them.
Okay. Yeah, they're already running around and it's episode 1.
Yeah.
Like,
The story hasn't even started yet.
I do like the setting though, so far.
I actually prefer the Sea Devil, even though it's a bit wonkier. I like the really gross green look because it feels slimy and like moss.
The
That-
Sea
that's-
Devils design.
Not the design, the set.
Oh yeah.
With the fog and everything, it just looks wet and damp and
Yeah,
gross.
yeah.
I like that design.
Yeah.
The base is actually pretty cool though, because normally these bases feel quite claustrophobic, but this is big and airy.
Shot in here. When I say run, run. Run!
Just say run. Just say run, Doctor. Is he gonna kill a dude? Is he gonna throw him over the barricade there, and that guy's gonna fall on the acid? You don't. Oh shit!
Whoa, he's lucky that was water. Or is it acid?
Because they've got the little radioactive symbol by the. Oh,
Oh shit.
that's a neat shot.
Can't just leave him. Face it, Tegan. He's drowned.
Not that quickly.
Nothing happened.
No. Except for the Doctor falling over the barricade, which was a neat stunt. There's no real... and the guy getting his alteration made. Maddox, his name is. I don't know why I
So we
remember
got
that.
Silurians and Sea Devils.
Uh-huh.
And then we've got
the sea base.
the base.
Yeah,
And
and we've got we had the thing in orbit that shot the TARDIS down.
Yeah.
But that I feel like I don't know if that's going to have any bearing on the rest of the plot, or if that was just a thing to get them down.
That was such a nothing episode, wasn't it?
There was up until
I
the
feel
last.
like I haven't even started the story yet.
No, it doesn't even feel like Act 1. Like the inciting incident in
Yeah.
the typical 3-act structure hasn't happened yet.
I feel like even though it dragged, I feel like that was less than 20 minutes.
Oh yeah,
I think it was shorter than that. Like
it felt
like it was like 18 or something.
yeah. That's not necessarily a good thing though, because it just feels empty. Doesn't feel well paced.
When you've got an 18-minute episode with padding.
Yeah, it felt empty. Like there was it was 22 minutes because I was.
There was nothing that pissed me off though, so that's alright.
No, it's just and nothing confused me either. It was just there was nothing there.
Nothing happened.
No. Other than fair dues to it though, the stunt that the Fifth Doctor took was neat, but. Then it was followed up by an immediately stupid line by Turlo. Face it, Deegan, he's drowned. No.
Yeah.
No.
Sets are cool.
Sets were cool, yeah.
Yeah, sets are cool.
Nice designs.
I just don't know what to say.
There's nothing to say.
Yeah. Guess we have to get on to part 2 then.
Let's do it.
Yeah. What would you like to see in this episode, Adam?
Something? No, I'd like to see actual like momentum in the plot.
Yeah.
Now that Maddox has had his brain basically wiped so they can control him as a puppet to get him to be the one to fire the missile. The missile fired. I want the missile to be fired. Have something happen that affects the plot in a way that moves forward. I want forward momentum, basically.
I was going to say a bit too much padding, but then I realised Leisure Hive Part 4.
Yep.
Not nowhere near as bad as that one.
No, not at all.
Because, they say that the Mind Robber was at episode 4 or 5 or something. Yeah. It's like the shortest episode of Classic Who. It's like 17 minutes or something?
Yeah.
18 minutes?
Yeah.
But then they don't realise that you get episodes like the Leisure Hive Part 4 where it literally copy and pastes time from the previous episode.
Absolutely.
Makes sense, though, because Turlo is a great character.
And also, if he just said run, just run, that would have made sense because the guys with guns were coming for them, and he would have trusted that the Doctor may have gotten out.
At least the Celery's getting some water.
Yeah, that's true.
What's that jet doing?
Oh, he's wearing wool underwater.
Yes, I like how they kind of tease, like, is Turlo evil or not?
Yeah, is he a scumbag?
Yeah. I hate to wear that costume when it's wet.
Oh, God. Any of the Doctor's costumes when they were wet.
Oh, God, Tom Baker's, Jesus, wet scarf.
Oh.
And it would, like, get in your hair and everything, because you got Tom Baker's hair as well. Oh, what if it was David Tennant's suit?
No.
Get ruined.
Well, he did get. He sort of got wet in New Earth, but that was the less nice of the two suits because everyone knows the blue suit's the best suit.
Yeah.
And that's not an opinion; that's just an objective fact.
Yeah. I mean, actually, the blue suit by itself, yes. I feel like when he's wearing the brown jacket over it, it kind of spoils it a little bit.
Yeah, they don't go well together. But when he's just wearing the blue suit,
I would say that his best costume is the one from Silence in the Library, where it's like the blue suit with the black shirt.
Yeah, and yes. And he's got the top button undone. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. Do you notice we're talking about anything except the episode?
Yeah. Trying to concentrate.
It's just
they're really going for that. Let's try and do Earthshock again, sort of thing.
You're right about the eyes. The eyes are very cool.
Oh. Oh.
Their necks.
What's that one on the ground doing?
You can bet there's like a polystyrene ball inside where the head is, just sitting on top of the actors. Where did he get? Did we see him put that on, or were we distracted?
What the fuck? Did he just die?
I don't know. What?
Oh, they're separated. Open the blast doors! Open the blast doors! Turlo turns around.
He's out of it now.
No, that wasn't the doctor.
Oh, it was Maddox.
Yeah.
I see.
What?
Eh?
I'm not going to remember those names.
Skibbus and Tarpok.
We are yours to command.
Ooh! That's neat.
Yeah, they're blinking. So they got the eyes right. Just not.
It's just the neck's way too big. You can see that the head's just wobbling on top
Oh
of
my
the
god, is
actors.
he drunk?
Yeah.
He's like.
Because they've probably got a policy, as I said.
He's just comfortably sitting there.
Ha 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 ha.
As I've said before, the least funny doctor.
Yeah. Except in Time Crash, he's pretty good. The
Yeah.
exact size of Belgium. 10 minutes to Belgium.
Because Stephen Moffat has a sense of humour.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it is a bit shit sometimes.
Ha 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 ha.
So now the doctor's like not concerned about Turlo.
There's like a butting heads kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can't remember how Turlo left.
Oh, Planet of Fire. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I can't.
Do you know what? They're like Cylon Centurions. Battlestar Galactica. I wonder if they got the same idea.
It's possible because the original probably would have been out by this point.
I don't know. Oh god, that looks horrible. What was I going to say? I don't know if this is accurate, but the bickering between the Doctor and Turlo kind of reminds me of Jack and Yanto, but it's not in a sexual way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turlo and the Doctor, as far as we can tell, don't bang
Don't
10
think
minutes
so.
later.
Don't think so.
Then again, how did Turlo enter in this episode?
Yeah, true. It might be one of those weird alien ones where they just like look into each other's minds and stare, and then some Time Lord juice happens.
The Ponfar.
See, aesthetically, the Silurian one looks tackier, but the Sea Devils one, it's just such a bad design in terms of like logistics,
Maneuverability,
you know?
yeah.
Now you must stay outside.
Was that a boom mic? Did you see that coming in from the top left hand of the frame? Pretty sure there was a boom mic.
Nah, surely not. Isn't there one in the Dalek Invasion of Earth?
I think so, yeah. Or at least you can see the shadow at one point.
Like, I love that story, but it's so terribly directed. There's that scene where they run into the room with Daleks and you just have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, you just see Ian running down the corridor.
Yeah.
It looks like when the news film like a disaster.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Which may have been what they were going for.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, okay, so they're going to put the thingy into his head.
Yeah. Ooh, they're gonna carve into us.
Ugh. Oh, fucking KFC radio. Just like fire. Fire.
Is that just a wall of cardboard boxes?
What? Is the door just open?
Oh yeah. Oh, unless it's the Doctor letting them in. Nope.
Must have been Turlo.
No. You know what this reminds me of vaguely?
What?
A very, very, very lame version of oh shit, what's it called? With the deaf woman and also the mute woman and the ghosts in the hallways with Capaldi and
Under
Clark.
the lake.
Under the lake and before the flood.
Before the flood.
Yeah, vague, not
Under
huge,
the lake
yeah.
specifically.
Yeah. That was it. I like that two-parter.
Oh yeah. It's one of my favourite Capaldi stories.
Yeah.
Excellent. Under the Lake is one of those episodes that actually feels like Classic Who.
The base where they introduced the base
Like,
of characters.
if someone said to me that they'd watched Classic Who and they wanted to see something from New Who that was like Classic Who, I would say that episode and The Unquiet Dead.
Yeah. This is like a really, really lame version of the colony in space.
Davison's acting though it's improved.
Oh, considerably.
Yeah.
Well, because I think in this season they actually had a clear. He probably talked to the writers and they actually came up with a clear path.
Robert Holmes came back and he's like, "No, this is how you write Doctor Who."
Yeah, and he was also he's also. But even in this case, it's just like there's a clear vision for what they want out of the Fifth Doctor, whereas in the previous two series, they had no clue.
Yeah. Who did they just blow up?
Separate ship. Them. It was their ship.
But they've all escaped.
I think what they were saying is the weapons hit their ship, but the ship absorbed it and actually used it to tap into their weapon system, so they're unable to fire on them again, I think.
Okay. You know the Sea Devil's voice kind of sounds like the Ice Warrior's voice?
Minus the hiss.
Uh-oh.
I've seen this.
Uh-oh. Someone told me they think, you know when Clara splits herself into a million forms in the name of the Doctor? Mm-hmm. She's inside the Merker.
Oh no!
And that's why she can't help in this story.
I can't.
Because she's
I can't
stuck
help
in.
but picture the Merc as
Because
horrible.
she's stuck inside the Merker.
I can't help
her and Danny Pink.
I can't help but picture a Merc with a terribly photoshopped Clara face just following it around.
And the Doctor's like, "Whoa, run, you clever boy."
Better ending for Clara's character than what they actually gave her.
Oh, you would have preferred the Merker instead of.
You know I would have. At least there would have been
I can
some-
imagine Peter Capaldi pulling off having the Merker as his companion.
Well, they'd have the room for it in his TARDIS console room. Except in,
Hello. I'd like to teach you something about life. He's like, if you put your hands in the console, it'll take you back in the past. And the Merker's like, and it takes him back to Warriors of the Deep.
No, not there. Anywhere but there.
That's the cliffhanger. So what are they doing now?
They're on complete radio silence, so the enemies can't track them. But the Doctor's going to try and make contact with Sea Devils / I don't think he knows the Sea Devils are there. He just knows it's the Silurians.
Okay.
But he's going to try and talk to them, and these guys are observing the Doctor if he's going to betray them in any way. I think.
Release the Merker. It's like the Silurian version of the Special Weapons Dalek.
Nowhere near as good, though.
Yeah.
The Special Weapons Dalek is rad. Big old cannon coming out of his chest.
Yeah. I hate how they wasted it in Asylum.
They wasted a lot of things.
That
in
entire episode is garbage. Fight me.
Put it on the list if you think it's worse than Hellbent.
It's not worse than Hellbent, but it's terrible.
Yeah. Nothing's worse than Hellbent.
It's Asylum of the Daleks would be in my bottom 10 New Who stories, though.
Probably my bottom 20, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yes! Yes! Here it comes!
Get ready, Tony. You're about to see the worst design of anything you've ever seen in your life.
Specifically mentioned on the DVD box.
I like how they build up to it. This is the scene that made Michael Gray want to cancel Doctor Who. Oh, what's happening to him?
They pressed the button on a remote.
Is he being hacked?
I don't know.
Oh. 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 Not the last time you'd see that in this season. Here it comes.
Let a door fall on you.
It's all made of styrofoam.
Oh my god.
Clear the airlock.
What a monstrosity. They keep cutting away from it
For obvious
because they're
reasons.
embarrassed of it.
They don't want to linger on it for too long. It's like got a seaweed goatee.
Oh my god.
Freedom!
It was very awkward, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know when one of your friends has just pissed their pants? Like, that's what it feels like watching that.
Yeah, it's very just like, or they've, it's like a school play, you know, like, it's like a school production that someone's put on, and it's like awkward and like,
They're dressed up as like a Chinese dragon. And
it's like the kind of things where none of these particular people who are on, there might be one person who's like born to be on the stage, and the rest of them are not. It's very.
Yeah.
It's just embarrassing. No wonder Michael. If this was one of the few things that Michael Grade saw of the show, no wonder he wanted to cancel it.
Yeah, look, it's just so silly, isn't it?
And it's not exciting. It's not. The story's pretty generic, and
Yeah.
it's just
It's very generic, isn't it? And generic and embarrassing.
yeah, generic and embarrassing. That's.
Yeah.
Let's get into.
And we're only halfway.
Oh no. Oh god, at least it's not 6 parts.
Wow.
Let's get on to part 3. Part 3 is going to be a riveting reaction with us just eating.
Well, I'm waiting for the story to start.
Yeah.
This is still playing stuff from the last episode.
Uh-huh.
Notice they're only filming the top bit because the top bit's the one that looks a little bit less shit.
Uh-huh.
Imagine being the director, turning up to set and seeing that.
Yeah, I think it was the Clever Dick documentary, you know, the guy who's brilliant retrospective.
Yeah.
I think he was saying the director did come onto set and, like, had conniptions because he's just like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Did you see that? The actor inside the suit just adjusted it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they just tried to keep the head on.
Oh my god, that's awful. That's absolutely awful. It's so bad. Look at that. It's got a big bum. We all have an Achilles heel. I think there's a couple of monsters that don't.
Yeah.
The Flood
Yeah.
and the Midnight Entity. The only thing about the Midnight Entity is that if you get rid of it, you can get rid of it. But
Yeah.
you have to get rid of it.
But it's so easy for it to infiltrate.
Yeah.
And it's on a planet. It's a habitat. It habitates a planet, but it's
This is
just.
how people die. They elevate themselves and stuff.
Yes, of course.
That's how everyone should die.
I know it was a different time, but the stunt work in Classic Who was garbage.
But except the Fifth Doctor falling over the bridge in the first episode was neat.
Yeah, that was good, but the majority of
I think part of the reason I was so shocked by it is because the standard is so
yeah,
low.
like even though I love the story, there's that fight that Ian has with that Aztec, and it just looks so fake.
Yes, it is fully charged.
They're just so lame, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yes, it is fully charged.
He doesn't even look at it, he's looking over this one.
Yeah.
It's
Off in the middle
charged.
distance. How far into this episode are we?
I don't know.
It's only just started. Oh god.
It's just it's a base under siege with no story. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
There's no other. My guess is the writer thought that just having the Sea Devils and the Silurians back would be enough for people to get excited about it. But it's not what you have, it's how you use it, which is a conversation we were having before about fan service, where something showing up does not good
Asylum
fans.
of the Daleks, Magician's Apprentice, both examples where Moffat exploited the Daleks and had them on screen for a bit of fan service, but it did nothing for the story.
No.
You could have done something with the special weapons Dalek in that story. It would have been awesome.
The Magician's Apprentice is slightly different, though, because that is a story about Davros. So I can kind of forgive that. Oh my god.
Wow.
I'm more forgiving of The Magician's Apprentice than I am Asylum of the
Oh,
Daleks.
definitely. No, I actually do like that story.
I do too, yeah.
It just has flaws in it.
But that is a good example of
Yeah. But
pointless
in terms
fan
of,
service.
Yeah, the fan service is garbage in it.
Yeah.
No, that's actually no. I would actually argue that's a relatively decent story, just with a lot of flaws.
Yeah.
Because it's Stephen Moffat. of
Basically,
course.
the first half is pretty terrible, and the second half is actually pretty great.
Well, I mean, the second half of the first half is alright. It's just that first 20 minutes.
The tank and the
It's like
guitar
some of
and
the
the
worst
dude.
Doctor Who. And then Missy popping out of the screen.
I actually quite like this samurai looking
Yeah, they look
design.
interesting. Looks like Age of Empires a bit.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I suppose that's supposed to look like an organic weapon.
Yeah. There's a lot of things about this story that just reminds me of Lego for some reason.
What? Oh, it's so colossally shite.
For God's sake, where is the story?
Yeah.
What's go-
Who are the characters?
It's
What are they?
literally just been a fucking runaround for the whole thing.
Yeah. What happened to Maddox? Who killed the woman? They haven't followed up on that yet.
I would have preferred if they went into that whole brain surgery
If
thing,
that was the focus of the story, that'd be way more interesting. Yeah.
like an invisible enemy.
Mm.
It's like the entire episode is padding.
Uh huh.
Feels like Doctor Who, but it's sport, you know? Like, it's sport, you know?
It feels like it's got a checklist of what Base Under Siege stories should do, but doing none of them well. It's like Colony of Space in terms of trying to signal the other people and...
The Mercury's the iguana.
Yeah. But at least the iguana was like just a projected image of an actual iguana. This is just a garbage fire, and I kind of hate it.
Yeah.
Why do we need a close-up of Tegan's feet?
I don't know, J&T's a weird guy. There's like a clip in Mind Warp where it's all weird and... You know when Perry's bald? Obviously I haven't seen that story, so I have no idea
Yeah.
the context, but
Yeah, I do know when
there's like a big focus on her feet and it's just weird. Like, it's just...
Mind Warp is a weird story. I love it, but it's real weird. Dum dum dum.
The soundtrack kind of fits it though.
Oh god. Oh god.
Oh, it's just
It's so bad.
Jesus Christ.
How many shots have there been of people running around corners in this story?
I don't know. Oh my god, that's terrible.
Prime example of self-defense.
Oh my god. I can, I'm starting to see the, why this appears on so many worst lists. It's not painful to watch, it's just nothing. It's a nothing story.
It's like wet paper. It's pointless and stupid.
Like, people say that 42 is generic.
No.
No.
At least 42.
Nothing. 42 is brilliant compared to this.
It's succinct, at least.
Yeah. At least they have some jokes about the Beatles or whatever it is.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
those questions.
And calling out Martha, and then her mum's like, watch out for the doctor. Some guy from the Saxon Foundation came up and
Yeah.
blah, 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 and
Yeah.
tying into the overarching story.
And
And
they at least try to make you care about the characters.
they do, yeah. To varying degrees of success.
And there's
but-
some scenes that are quite visually quite nice. And I really like Terrence when he gets taken over by the sun. He's really good at doing that.
painful scream.
Yeah.
It's like when he's got the chameleon arch being zapped on him, and he just screams in pain. It's horrible to watch because you really feel for Martha in that scene. It looks like dentist equipment.
What is he doing?
Fiddling with a motherboard or power board or something.
Primitives.
No, it's way too top heavy.
Revenge of the Cybermen from season 12. That is also a generic story, but at least it's fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
There's something to it.
yeah.
Because Revenge of the Cybermen, that's the one that's the season finale, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, where it's basically like the Ark in Space, but just with
Well,
Cybermen.
the way I see it is you sort of got your you got your big roast with Genesis of the Daleks, and then Revenge of the Cybermen's just a bit of dessert at the end of the season. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a bit of fun run around action.
Yeah, it's a cool
Nothing bad, nothing good. It's just a bit of fun, you
Yeah.
know.
Comparatively to what else happened in that season,
Yeah.
I can see why it's
And
so unfavorable.
and the
but it's-
execution as well. The
yeah.
execution of Revenge of the Cybermen's actually pretty decent.
Yeah, it's pretty
um,
generic, but it's fun generic as opposed to this, which is just blank generic.
Yeah, and this is produced badly.
He's still alive.
Yeah. So this is one of those cases where like I think it's a problem that I'm not upset.
Yeah.
It's one of those situations where I wish it was bad. Like I wish
Yeah.
it was terrible because then at least I'd feel something.
No, but I'm just feeling nothing.
Yeah.
Like as you, well,
I'm still waiting for the story to begin.
yeah, as the viewers probably noticed, and
Oh.
as I mentioned, we just kept trailing off and talking about anything but the episode because it's so. I just feel sorry for the episode. Oh bugger!
They primitives have more cunning than we've got.
They're just really stupid, aren't they?
Yeah. This is like a really, really lame version of Doomsday,
Yeah.
where you got all these two big enemies coming face to face for the
Yeah.
first time.
But you don't have that personal family drama that was built up for 2 seasons.
Yeah, nor do you have the fun. This is not war. This is pest control.
Yeah. You got sass and flair and character.
Pizzazz. And that
And
one of the best cliffhangers in the show's history with the orb opening.
yeah. And oh yeah. And also David Tennant in that episode really found his sort of wacky doctor
Yes.
side in that.
It was perfectly balanced.
It was obviously that was the story where Alon Z debuted,
Yeah.
and and I doubt this episode has a scene like the beach scene.
No.
Nothing close.
No.
Is an enemy agent.
What?
No, our human enemies.
Oh, right, we knew this. It's just so generic and uninteresting a twist that I forgot that it was supposed to be shocking. Proton missiles, because they can't call it photon torpedoes. Why would you announce your intentions to him? Just shoot him!
This episode is pathetic. For fuck's sake. Just tell a story. Just do something. Something. Have someone start crying. Have someone break their leg.
Emotion!
Have someone have their clothes fall off or something. I don't care what it is. Just have a story.
Have a character who's a slapstick side character who's comedic relief. Anything. To have some form of flair in this drudge of generacy. It's just pathetic.
They're actually retarded characters. Oh no. They killed the Merker.
They have more cunning than we first thought.
Isolate them.
Isolate.
They all look like they've got like stiff neck.
Tello!
No.
Hide, you moron!
I can see you.
Oh no, they're captured, they're not hiding, never mind. Wait! What happened to the people who broke into the TARDIS? Is that a thing that was still going on? Was that
I can't
resolved?
remember if they went out or not. Maybe they're still stuck in there.
Because they said, go investigate that door, and they went in further in the TARDIS, and I can't remember what happened after that. Right.
Just fell over the Merker.
The hollow Merker. You could see straight up it there. It was
How
hollow.
do you miss it? It's right there. They're gonna come running anyway. Whoa.
You are a terrible shot, Sea Devil.
He just fell onto the Merker.
The Merker just squished.
Oh my god, this is terrible.
This is a shit show.
Oh my god. What? I don't understand how you can go from this to Caves of Androzani in one season.
Oh god, it's just terrible. Terrible.
And we've still got another episode left.
Fuck!
Nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Guy who we knew was the bad guy turned out to be the bad guy, got shot and died.
And everyone died on the Merker.
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
But you know why I reckon they used the Merker? Because it'd be good for a stunt. You know, to land softly.
True. Because it looked like a nice comfy bed.
Yeah. Well, the other lady tried to karate and that was just
No, not part one again, no.
I don't know what to say.
There's nothing to say.
I'm absolutely speechless.
Episode 4?
Episode 4.
Let's do it.
Oh, I can't believe there's one of these YouTubers that I subscribe to likes this story.
What? And this is like the opposite of the Leisure Hive, and episode 4 is great. I don't know why or how.
Okay, here we go. Part 4.
Let's do it.
Get this shit over with. Honestly, when we were watching that last one, there was points where I just wanted to press fast forward.
Yeah, no.
I was like, I know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing.
Why do we even like the show again?
Because sometimes it's awesome. Quite often it is, actually.
Yeah.
But then you get episodes like Warriors of the Deep where there's just... What a waste of time and money.
I know. And look at these sets. These aren't cheap sets. Look at the Sea Devil. He misses the first shot. What's this? Look. He misses.
He's at like point blank range.
Yay!
That'd be comfortable. How do you do?
Imagine if this was his final story.
Oh my god. Gets shot by a sea devil, regenerates. Like, you can see Davison's really trying.
Yeah. It's the next 20 minutes just going to be them all talking in a room about stuff that doesn't matter because they haven't set it up properly.
It'd be like Midnight, but instead of horror, it's just politics.
But not interesting politics. Politics that's just so dumb and just...
Do you know what this feels like?
What?
Assembly. School assembly.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were just watching PE.
Yeah. Well, it's just... Yeah.
And you look nothing like you used to.
But then again, neither does the Doctor. Ew. Just a cheaper and worse version.
Of both.
Yep.
All due respect to Peter Davison.
Yeah. Oh, we love Peter Davison. It's
he's-
not his fault.
He's a great human being, but his era was pretty shit. To be
But it
honest.
just happens to also have my favourite classic story in it.
Yeah.
Somehow. Also, we got to thank him for the 5-ish Doctors, because that was great.
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And Big Finish.
Oh, God.
The Fifth Doctor in Big Finish is
is
amazing.
amazing.
It's amazing.
5th Doctor and the 6th Doctor are extraordinary.
Yeah.
And Big Finish. And so's the 8th Doctor, for that matter.
Yeah.
And the 7th. And the 4th. They're all great.
Except for Tennant.
But yeah, Tennant's kind of weirdly not great.
Yeah. He's not bad, but he's a bit sort of...
Not an
I think it's
audio-
because part of what made his character interesting was the Time War.
Yeah.
And when you take that away, it's just...
Yeah.
It's just like when he's... You know in Fear Her, when he's just joking around?
Yeah.
That's basically what he is in Big Finish.
Yeah. It's a fun
But
story.
Rose is great, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so's Jackie.
Yeah.
And, oh, for fuck's sake. Was it Cody that said, oh, we get it, you're doing the Hitler thing?
Oh, yeah.
It's a bit like Capaldi.
Even Capaldi would make this story better.
Because he's just got his Doctor, all 17 different versions of him. They're all interesting in their own way.
Except for Hellbent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, interesting doesn't necessarily mean
Good.
Good.
Right, yeah. Clara. Clara who?
ding, ding,
So
ding,
they said
ding,
something about
ding,
genocide
ding.
there. What does that mean? Well, I know what genocide is, but...
The Sea Devils and not the Ice Warriors, the Silurians are planning on committing genocide against the remaining humans, I believe is their plan.
Okay. Well, that's so interesting. You know what Turlo kind of looks like? You know Matt Smith in the 11th Hour?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Stories come to a grinding halt.
And the reason why it's so dull now is because none of the previous 3 episodes have actually set up any of these interesting political elements. If you, from episode 1, had the Silurians' intention out front and like a clear purpose as opposed to just infiltrating the base and only now understanding it.
This should have been like a Peloton story where it's all political.
Because then if you if you have bits of scenes of action here and there, get rid of the Merca, and all that, and just focus on the Sea Devils, the Silurians, and the humans, and all their interrelationships and their history and stuff, and the Doctor being stuck in the middle of this. You could have done a really interesting political story, a 3-sided political story, but instead it's just so. It's the best way I can describe it.
Up to the TARDIS.
No, not
Who the
the
man?
bridge. You've got the doctor.
The worst part of 11th Hour, which is a
Yeah.
great story.
Yeah,
Great
it's a great
story.
story, but there's like one or two moments that make me want to punch my head in.
Like the clear.
It annoys me how the Doctor doesn't like bacon. Ah! Bacon's amazing.
Apples are good.
As opposed to when Pertwee's trying on hats and he throws away the shitty old granddad one.
The
And I'm
cheese
like,
cutter.
I'm like, yes.
No, the cheese cutters are great. I disagree. Cheese cutters are great. Here's the warn the cheese cutter.
No. Oh, it works with Sami Zayn, I guess.
Yeah, it does.
Mm. But I would never wear one.
I sometimes wear one. I've got a Salvador Dali one that has ants on the back because I'm so cool. Again, we're talking about anything except the episode.
Talking about fucking cheese cutters.
Oh, he said something sinister.
I want the Merca back. That's how bad this story is.
I'll tell you what, I like the random little pieces of incidental music. The ding 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 ding.
Yeah.
They would have stood a better chance if you'd gone with them.
Why don't you just stand on one of the beds? Why don't you just
Yeah, no.
there and stand on it and go?
Because they're not bolted down. Stupid. Stupid. Stupid.
No malice, Doctor. Once we have
No, there's no threat then.
No. That's supposed to be a morality tale, but because you haven't set up these characters as interesting or likable, then we don't give a shit about these side characters who will die.
Yeah.
You're telling us what we want to
This
feel.
is
but you're
only interesting if you're an extreme pacifist.
But no, even if you're an extreme pacifist, because I consider myself a pretty big pacifist, it's just dull because you haven't done anything. Because there's no story. There's nothing interesting.
You know-
the story
You
should
know how
come from the
Tegan's
characters.
wearing those yellow stockings?
Yes.
Makes her legs look like Auton legs.
Maybe she's a cyborg Auton.
I hate how he stands.
Yeah. Because it's the bloody chest and back piece that's just like constricting. Because it's like it goes down there like a wrestler's outfit.
Fucking hell.
Come on, Shinsuke, get it together.
Me no speak English. I reckon this story would be better if we had Piss Take Tom Baker in it.
Or angry Baker going like "fuck you, genocide,"
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just killing them all.
Yeah. What, you mean Colin Baker?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, Colin Baker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, again?
This way.
This is atrocious.
Shut the fuck up.
The Sea Devils should have been the main antagonist. The Sea Devils are way cooler than the Silurians. Cooler voices, cooler design. Even though their heads wobble, it's more entertaining. Yeah, they look like they've got a
And it's a
Japanese
shame
response,
because
yeah.
the Sea Devils are actually a rip-off of the original Silurians. Oh my god. What is that?
Those
Is
are
that
just straws
is that
in
like
cotton wool?
candy floss? Straws and cotton.
Even for the time, that's not good.
You didn't think I'd leave you?
Never crossed my mind.
Ha 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 ha! Funny jokes, witty banter.
It's funny because I usually get real triggered by Tegan, but she's just non-existent.
No one's existent in this episode.
It still feels like we're on part 1.
I know. It feels like a 4-part part 1.
At least if this was Matt Smith, he would come in with a sonic screwdriver and fix it all and be like, that's funny.
And at least he'd be like whipping around with lots of energy and like.
And then you get jokes from
Yeah.
Amy and Rory, and it would be hilarious.
Yeah, like there would be life to it. Even in a generic story, there would be some life. That's what I like about Smith. Even when I found the writing of his version of the Doctor a bit irritating, he was. Ooh, no. Ew! Gross!
Hey, Chop Minorio?
Helion Martel! Jesus, we're only halfway through the episode.
Vaders.
And kill them.
Well, now you tell us. Now you tell us that it kills them. After all this time, you couldn't have just gone to the room and loaded up a bunch of guns with it.
Yeah. Or just roll it down the hallway, shoot it, spread it up against them.
Now the Doctor's protesting.
Yeah, because he's saying don't kill them, even though... Oh, no, to be fair, the Sea Devil shot the thing himself, I think, unless I'm forgetting something that happened 5 minutes ago. Fuck off! Fuck off!
This is as cheap as it gets.
Fuck off, all of you. This is just...
Final countdown is imminent.
Hopefully that means it's counting down to the end of the episode.
Yeah. Wait, is he now going along with their plan to... I hate this. You know, if this was John Pertwee, he would have just done some Venusian Aikido and then got out of Hey! Hey! Oh no, a character I don't care about or know the name of has died. Is he gonna fall off? Oh god, this is so bad.
I was going to say, this is the first time in a long time that I've watched an episode and just wanted it to end. But then again, I recently watched the Flash 2-parter.
I watched the one we're going to defend later, earlier, and I wanted that to end. How have they made the possible genocide of the human race boring?
It's because we don't believe it.
No.
Red alert. Red alert. Red alert.
Oh no.
We're all going to die.
Shock and horror.
No. Stop.
Stop.
I
no.
found you, Doctor.
Oh no, the gas is seeping into the room already. Why isn't the Sea Devil... Oh, there we go.
Oh, we got a countdown now?
Woo.
What? What? What?
Fuck this. Fuck this. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck that counter. Fuck the sea
Where's
devils.
the tension?
Fuck that machine. The gas mask even.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Huh?
Fuck Turbo.
Hello. What happens when you don't put it on the face properly?
We've done it.
What?
He did it.
Lucky, I'm afraid. He's been shot.
What? When? Did I just miss something? That's an iconic
There
shot.
should have been another way.
So he cancelled it and saved the day, but then they all died anyway. That's got to be the worst one.
That is the worst one
That's
by a
got to be the
long
one.
way.
That has to be the worst one we've seen so far.
Oh, what a shit show.
Oh my god. Oh my god. What even happened?
They died.
They turned up to a base, underwater base.
That happened to be under siege.
By the Silurians and the Sea Devils and the Merca.
Yep.
And then they ran away.
Yep.
And then the Doctor saved them, but then he didn't.
Yep.
And that was the whole story.
Yep.
Time for the recap. Right. So, my 100th classic story is Warriors of the Deep. One of the worst Doctor Who episodes of all time. Undoubtedly. So, what's your initial thoughts? Yep. What did you think of the Doctor in this story?
I won't, for the sake of trying to make it an interesting video. But the noise I just made could be applied to every question you're going to ask me. He was a flat, uninteresting character. The only time he had a moment of like, oh, this could be an interesting, compelling thing. Hard cut to credits. There should have been another way. Dun-dun-dun, 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 dun-dun-dun. It's just... Fuck this episode, fuck this story. It's all generic. It's not even... It's not that it's bad, but it's not like that it's hilariously bad or confusingly bad. It's just numb. It's just numbingly asinine.
There was a couple of moments I think you could see the actor was trying, Peter Davison, he was trying to get across something. But because this episode was so terribly written, there was really not much he could do with it.
And the crazy thing was, it wasn't even like it was completely slowly paced or anything. It just, there was a pace that just didn't, there was nothing happening.
And I expected way more of the political pacifist stuff to be in this story. I expected way more of it, but we just didn't get any of it.
And it would have been way more interesting had it been there. Because at least there's something to grasp onto.
Yeah, there's just not there's not much to say about the Doctor's character because nothing fucking happened.
No, I mean he drowned, and that was a neat stunt.
That first part, he was decently interesting, but to a Davison degree.
Yeah, it's just so flat. Not the actor's performance. Well, he did the best he could with the material he was given. He was actually trying, and you could see that. But the material, the Doctor, the portrayal of the Doctor in terms of how he was written was so flat throughout all 4 parts.
It was just a generic main character, wasn't it?
Yeah. Just, yeah.
Tegan, again, usually she butts into the story, gets in the way, and is annoying. But in this, she just wasn't there. Like, she would literally just run around and have one line and then run around again. Like, there was nothing.
She was there to ask questions, but she only asked like one. So
You could have put any companion in that spot.
you could have written a new, interesting person he picked up from the base, and put him or her in the
Like an outcast Silurian or something.
an outcast Silurian or someone, Maddox. If he got, instead of getting killed off, if he broke his programming and teamed up with a Doctor, there would be an interesting dynamic there because there's a human on the other side.
Nothing to say.
No.
It's funny, like, I wish she was more annoying in this story because at least I would have gotten something out of it.
Yeah.
I think, even though he didn't get much to do, one of the characters that actually at least shone through with something was Turlo.
Comparatively, he didn't actually do that much, but I suppose because he did something and had showed some form of emotion. Yeah.
I mean, I'm really grasping at straws here, but I don't know. I was drawn to his conflict, but it was never. They never went anywhere with it. But there was that sort of conflict. Like basically, most of the positives came from the first episode. Even though the first episode, nothing really happened, at least there was something that was sort of felt like it was being set up, and then they never did anything with it.
Yeah.
But with Turlo, I felt like in the first episode there was something there that could have been explored,
Yeah,
and then
it
it just
didn't.
wasn't.
Yeah, that's the same with Maddox. They could have had explored something there. The Silurians and the Sea Devils, a bit more of their relationship as opposed to the Sea Devils just being the Silurians' grunts. Like them actually having like a power play would have been quite interesting, but they didn't do anything.
Generic villains.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And the costumes weren't good either.
No. It was all very uninspired and bland, and obviously the
The Merker.
the best costume I've ever seen committed to television. But no, it was just. I apologize for this being low energy, but there's nothing we can say really. That's just.
Yeah. The only parts we enjoyed were the parts that were shit,
Hilariously shit.
and that was down to a bad production. All the stuff that was taken seriously was boring.
But it wasn't even that it was boring, it was just unengaging. Like, it was just passive. There was nothing. Like, I didn't feel myself getting antsy or annoyed. I just felt like, I just was like, Like, is anything happening? Like, I was just more baffled than annoyed.
Like I said, this felt like 85% padding.
Front-loaded padding as well. 85% padding, then 15% of story, and then...
And the story was shit as well. God. Any other characters?
As I said, Maddox came close, but then they killed him off.
That brain thing was actually an interesting
And
idea.
they did nothing with it. It was mentioned once, and they used it like a couple times with the remote. But that should have been like, you could have gotten rid of the Sea Devils and the Silurians, had a base that's doing maybe a mining operation or it's testing missiles or something. And then there's that brain control thing, and the whole dilemma comes from the power play and the brain control. That would have been somewhat more of an interesting and slightly more original story. Fuck this episode. Fuck this story.
Awful. It's got to be one of the worst plots in Doctor Who because it's just it runs around for almost all of it.
It's like the final episode of the Arc of Infinity, but for 3.5 episodes.
It's garbage. I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say. Nothing fucking happened.
And then they all died at the end. There was...
I think we should move on to the other stuff, like, because I honestly I can't be asked reviewing it
No.
because there's just nothing happened.
No. What can we say? Literally, in terms of a structure, there was none. In terms of a plot, it only became minorly sort of active in the last 10 minutes or so. The characters were all flat. The leads were boring. The side characters, the only potentially interesting one, they killed off.
They were trying to do the whole Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve thing where it's all a big waste at the end where it's like the Doctor's standing there saying, what a horrible thing to happen. And same thing happened at the end of Dalek's Master Plan. But the thing about those stories is they're earned. And with Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve, you have this really interesting idea of Stephen going around the town asking people questions. You know, when you're playing like Assassin's Creed or just any of those games with like where you have to go around asking open worlds and asking people questions. Basically, the whole story, Stephen's asking questions to find out what's happening. It's all about this historical event, and he doesn't know about it, obviously. And then it all leads to the horrible death of all those people, and then Stephen Taylor leaves the TARDIS, and you've got the Doctor standing there doing like what Davison was doing at the end of this, but way better, and actually relating it to some of the other episodes, you know. It almost felt like the Doctor was in a depressed state of mind. But in this, who cares?
The only interesting point of drama in this whole story was unearned. And that's so incredibly frustrating. Unearned drama, for me, is one of my biggest pet peeves. When they suddenly thrust a tone onto you or something that just either comes out of nowhere or is completely out of character without proper or thorough justification for the change. It just... I'm looking at you, Hellbent. But it just... yeah, it was a waste. It was a waste. Waste of time and money.
So should we get on to the reception?
Go for it.
This has, out of 241 stories on DWM, it's number 226.
Jesus, the others must be utter shite.
So I'm not sure if we're that concerned of what it's below, because it's below stuff that we probably prefer. But
What's below it?
Curse of the Black Spot is just one below it. Fair. I would say these two stories, in terms of what they achieve, are the same.
Yeah. In terms
But-
of they achieve nothing.
But this is going to sound crazy because I hate Curse of the Black Spot.
Yeah.
But I actually think this is worse because it ruins the Silurians and the Sea Devils and the Doctor.
Yeah, it damages them. It damages them in an irreversible... Well, not in an irreversible
Because
way.
Curse of the Black Spot ruins pirates, but pirates aren't an integral part of Doctor Who's history.
Yeah, and you could, and like the Sea Devils and the Silurians have so much potential to be doing good. There's parallels we're drawing here, but they have been damaged for future storytellers. What do you do from here?
At least in Curse of the Black Spot, you've got the Matt Smith, Amy and Rory team.
Yeah, and this, they're just this charisma vacuum. By no fault of the actors, purely by what they've been given.
Also below it is, funnily enough, the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe. To that same degree, I would personally say I think Warriors of the Deep is worse, but I can understand because Doctor, Widow, and Wardrobe is bad for a very different reason,
Yeah,
which we will get onto.
we will.
Now this one really annoys me. Even though I haven't seen it in about 5 years, Paradise Towers is below this. Paradise Towers is in season 24, and it is a really daft story. Like, it's got some real shit parts in it, but at least there are some interesting ideas, like all the hotel rooms and stuff.
I don't even remember Paradise Towers.
So basically, it's one with McCoy and Mel, and they're in like a hotel.
Oh no! Yes.
I think she like gets into a swimming pool.
At least there's some creativity there. That's the thing, is there's nothing creative or interest. Well, there is, but they don't do anything with the creative ideas that they bring up, like the mind control and stuff.
And one thing I do like about Paradise Towers is there's lots of clowning around. To put it in perspective, it's almost like you know in Bad Wolf when they're stuck in the rooms. It's kind of like that. Obviously, way less interesting. It's kind of like that with the rooms, but then once they get to the plot, it's a bit shit.
Yeah.
But it's better than this. This was terrible.
Yeah. This was just so uninspired and bland, and it's like someone gave you a stale piece of bread when you were starving, but then like broke it off and actually only gave you a piece of the crust, and when you tried to eat the crust, it just faded away and crumbled into your hands, and you just got nothing.
That's a good analogy for Warriors of the Deep.
Yeah.
This one really disappoints me. The Space Museum is below this, but then I think that's probably because most people don't get the Space Museum. Essentially, the first episode's amazing, and then the next 3 are a parody of 62, and that's probably why people don't get it.
Much like the Censorites.
And similar to how like Love and Monsters is a parody of it's a parody of fandom, which is part of some people. It doesn't specifically tell you that it is, so if you don't get it, you won't get it. Space Museum is a parody of 62 stories. But even for that, the first episode is so great that I don't understand how you can say Warriors of the Deep's better than Space Museum. Just for that first episode. And just that TARDIS team. Hartnell, Vicky, Ian and Barbara. Amazing. The Rings of Akaten is below Warriors of the Deep.
No way. Like, I'm kind of lukewarm on Rings of Akaten, but again, with the whole creative ideas thing, that market that they walk through and stuff in Rings of Akaten, and Clara actually is a good character in that episode. Yeah, and Clara, like, in that episode, I think she's talking to the little princess or the little sacrifice or whatever it is. It's been a while since I've seen the episode. I haven't watched it since it aired. But I just distinctly remember there was a lovely scene between Clara and the little girl, and there's just this nice human moment, which is rare for Clara. And it's just, like, I don't really like the episode hugely, but it's so much better than this, and so much more imaginative, and puts way more effort into the characters. And that speech that Matt Smith gives, that passion, is what this episode is what Warriors of the Deep is lacking. The passion that Matt Smith gives in the "take it all" speech, as hokey as it is, at least there's something for the audience to grasp onto. Sorry, I don't think I've ever ranted this much like this on camera yet, but fuck that ranking.
Rings of Akaten actually has some character in it, whereas this doesn't at all. And I'm not sure how to illustrate Fear Her, because Fear Her... What? True, yeah. Not sure how to illustrate that one, because, yeah, it is a terrible episode, but at least there's some neat ideas in it. Like,
Squirrel Monster is hilarious.
I actually really like the idea of trapping people inside drawings.
Yeah. That's a cool, like, that's a neat concept. Again, it's like, it's this whole thing of intent versus execution, where, like, a lot of bad episodes of New Who, and some of the previous ones we've watched on this particular series, like The Leisure Hive, interesting ideas, but terrible execution. This didn't have any, the intent behind it was dull. Like, and the execution was even duller. It was just a train wreck. Yeah.
And another thing to compare, the TARDIS teams. The 10th Doctor and Rose are really fun in Fear Her, whereas in this TARDIS team, Warriors of the Deep, just boring.
And even the mother and the daughter, like at least, like, it's an attempt at making character.
Funny. It's funny as well.
Yeah, it is. It's just, and like
he's playing with an orange cat, and then there's like a box with an invisible energy in it. And he's like, "Oh, look at this!" Then he puts his fingers in a jar. Whereas in this, just
there's nothing.
Absolutely nothing. God. Right. Well, I think we disagree with the ranking
Yeah.
of it being 20th from the bottom.
Yeah. No,
It should be like
fifth.
yeah.
But then again,
At the very least, I think this should be bottom 10. Although this is only including up to 2013, and there's a few episodes that would be in that bottom 10 that may bump it out, but I'm not sure. We'll have to wait till the rest of this series we're doing to find out which are worse than Warriors of the Deep and which aren't.
Absolutely.
But Warriors of the Deep has got to be one of the worst stories ever.
Yeah, it's appalling. Really appalling. I feel like a disappointed parent.
Right, so, coming off that, a YouTuber that I subscribe to, his name's Joey Morgan, he made a defense video for this episode,
Alright.
and we're about to watch that, and we'll react to it, and we'll see what he has to say, and then we'll counteract if we disagree, which I'm sure we will.
Warriors of the Deep. A story I so infamously love for pretty much no reason. I recognize that it really isn't a well-constructed 4-part story, but I just can't help but love it with absolutely no explanation to accompany it. So, time to put my thoughts into words. It's a reduced production schedule and some poorly realized design choices. Warriors of the Deep struggles to deliver the dramatic impact it has on paper. Sadly, this is emphasized by the unintentionally absurd appearance of the Merca, which, despite only appearing briefly on screen, contrives to disproportionately impinge upon an otherwise thought-provoking tale. There really should have been another way. I mean, even with most really bad stories, the DVD booklets will try to come up with some contrived defense for said bad stories, but this one was just mean. The last paragraph rips Warriors apart, talking about cost-cutting edits, poorly realized design choices, and of course bringing up the infamous Merca. Yet, I can't help but agree with most of what was said. Yeah, this story has some pretty horrible design flaws. Most of it's poorly edited, and the Merca is goddamn laughable. This all seems valid enough for argument, but I'd like to look a bit closer at the story itself. Yes, the actual story, not the awful production design that the story is often criticized for, because the script for this story is really good. And no, I don't mean that sarcastically. The script is extremely solid. I mean, actually look at the story itself, and you'll find a well-constructed plot buried beneath foam walls and green rubber horses. Have we forgotten Keeper of Traken? Because Johnny Byrne's not a bad writer. In fact, Byrne was under worse conditions with Keeper. He had to answer to Chris Bidmead. I mean, sure, Eric Sayward's a dick, but he certainly wasn't as hard on writers as Bidmead was. Now, the DVD booklet wasn't entirely harsh. It does say the story has dramatic impact, and even calls it a thought-provoking tale. Though, where I have to disagree is where it said that all these things struggle due to the production. I have to say that combining the heavy idea scripted with laughable design flaws makes the story a bit more enjoyable. I mean, let's face it, Byrne is kind of ripping off Malcolm Hulk, at least idealistically on these Silurian things, and a better production would have just made this another Doctor Who and the Silurians, or the Sea Devils. And don't get me wrong, I love those stories to bits, with Silurians actually being my favorite TV Who story. But did we really just want Diet Malcolm Hulk? I'm looking at you, Hungry Earth. The design issues of this story make it more fun to watch, while still presenting a story with some strong ideas behind it. The DVD booklet also claims the Silurians in this story are one-dimensional, only made better when you consider the horrible human beings that accompany them. But I think the booklet really undermines the importance of the human characters here. The characters are terrible people, and you're certainly not meant to like them in any way, which is exactly what makes the Silurians effective here. You really get to see why the Silurians despise the apes so much, almost making you able to sympathize with them. And I will admit the Sea Devils are pretty much wasted in this story, so I don't have much of a defense for that. The Merca is poorly thought out, though I feel the idea behind it is strong enough. The ending, of course, needs no defenses. Even this story's biggest critics will agree the closing moments of Warriors of the Deep hit hard.
It's not closing moments. It is literally the last line. That's where I disagree with... Sorry, who is this?
Joey Morgan.
Joey Morgan, that's where I slightly disagree with you, as if he's watching this. But that's where I slightly disagree with him, because closing moments, it's literally just the close-up on Peter Davidson's face and his last line. It's not like the final build. It's just...
I really would like to make it the last time I have to explain why I enjoy it so much, but I have this sneaking suspicion that that won't happen. Well, anyway, be sure to tell me why I'm wrong in the comments, and I'll be sure to ignore you. So until next time, this has been Joey Morgan. Goodbye.
You're going to be defending that till the end of time, mate. What do you have to say?
I just feel like some of his defenses of it are a little, a bit of a stretch in terms of, the episode I don't think is a well-constructed story. I think that's part of why it's so bland, because there's no pacing. Because you can have a great story with terrible production design. It's just ain't good.
I personally don't think it's that strong of a defense either. Especially when you open up with, I love this, but I don't know why. Mm-hmm. You're not really proving anything, are you?
Yeah, it's great that he's able to enjoy it, because I enjoy some episodes that are quite controversial, and we'll get to them, believe me. Probably sooner rather than later, I'd imagine. But, this story is just not good. It's not a good story that's held... It's not held back by its practical effects. It's practical... It's design...
Held back by everything.
Yeah, its design just makes things worse. I just don't comprehend it.
Right. Now that we've got that over with, we'll go to the IMDb scores. The always reliable. Part 1, 6.4.
That's still positive, and no, vehemently disagree.
Part 2, 6.3. Part 3, 6.5. Part 4, 6.6.
No! No!
Part 3 was the worst one.
Was the worst one. Because at least part 4, even though it's one line, has that ending moment. Moment. Singular.
So obviously this was written by Johnny Byrne, and this was his last script for Doctor Who, obviously.
That sucks that you had to go out on such a low note.
And he was the same writer from Arc of Infinity, and he also wrote The Keeper of Traken as well. So it was disappointing enough with Arc of Infinity, but then this...
As we said, the final part of Arc of Infinity, Warriors of the Deep, is like 3.5 episodes of that, but without any story building up to it. It starts as a runaround, continues as a runaround, keeps going on as a runaround, all in as a fun bit of political conflict at the end. They're all dead. That's it.
Useless. The director, Pennant Roberts, directed The Face of Evil, The Sunmakers, The Pirate Planet, Sharda, and Time Lash.
The direction was very competent. It's just that they didn't have much to work with, because the sets, as impressive as they were for their science, but
The camera movement was fine.
yeah, the camera movement, and there was no weird jumping of the line, or just things being way too close or too far away, or clunky and strange. It was all very competently shot. I'll give it that.
But I don't... Yeah, this... Because I don't think it's the director's fault that the production was so shit.
Not at all.
And the music was by Jonathan Gibbs. So he wrote the music for The King's Demons, Warriors of the Deep, Vengeance on Varos, and The Mark of the Rani.
Vengeance on Varos, that stands out because it's... Yeah, but yeah.
The music was fine.
Music was harmless, yeah. I think I put it...
Nothing that stood out.
No, everything was either competent or bad, yeah.
Right, so I guess now it's time for some trivia.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's get this over with. During the production of this story, Janet Fielding and Peter Davison both announced their decision to leave later in the year. According to Volume 38 of The Complete History, Fielding and Davison had planned to leave Doctor Who by the end of 1984 season before production began in June 1983. And there were already auditions being held for the new companion to replace Fielding by May.
Oh god, it kind of shows that they kind of knew that they were on their death throes in terms of where they're going with the season, because just their performances, their performances are fine, but they're giving it as much as they can, but the script isn't giving them much back, and you can kind of feel that disconnect. You know what I mean?
Here we go. In part 3, Part 3. There is a comical scene where Solo attempts to fight the Merca by dealing it a karate kick and is electrocuted as a result. That was awful, wasn't it? It was this footage, amongst others, that was later to be presented by BBC executives who wanted to axe Doctor Who.
Can't say I blame them.
Sad as it is.
Yeah. I don't want to side with the people that wanted to...
But then, if I was defending, show them, Case Vendrazzani.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Genesis.
Remembrance. Oh, not Remember. Oh, Resurrection from that season. But Remembrance anyway.
Oh,
Yeah.
good story, that one.
Writer Johnny Burns had stated that several elements of the story were not in his original script, including the deaths of Iktar and Vorshak at the story's end, the drop-kicking German female scientist, and nowhere did I describe it, the Merca, as a four-legged beast on loan from Panto Horses R Us.
Well, the unfortunate thing about that statement is the only interesting thing, not interesting, but the only dramatic thing in his story was something he didn't want, which was the death of the Silurians. So the only dramatic beat in this whole story that had anything close to a remote impact. There we are.
The Merca was operated by William Perry and John Asquith and Jenna Coleman, who were uncredited both on screen and in Radio Times. The pair were perhaps better known for playing Dobbin, the pantomime horse, in the children's sitcom Rent-A-Ghost. Never heard of that.
They were actually pantomime horse operators. That explains a lot.
Byrne has also stated that the base looked nothing as he envisioned it. I was very specific in my description of the base, rusting, leaking, virtually forgotten by all except those on board. The atmosphere and look was something like Alien, with the Merca essentially lurking, a deadly presence waiting to reveal itself.
That would have been so much cooler. And you could have even had this, nice color contrast of, orange for, the rust and the kind of, you could have orangey kind of, bronzy kind of equipment, and then have the green of the Silurians and Sea Devils location. So it would be a nice contrast of the green and the orange.
Yeah. It was decided that the sets should be brightly lit. This had the effect of downplaying the elements of intrigue, horror, and suspense in the story.
Yeah, it made everything feel much more flat.
The original Sea Devil costumes had been all lost or destroyed at the time of production. All that remained was a head, which was on display in the BBC Museum. The head was used to make a mould for the new Sea Devil costumes, with side fins removed and imported to incorporate their helmets.
I'd rather have the side fins.
Because the mouths on the Silurian head props were static, there was no way to tell which Silurian was speaking during the scenes with multiple ones. Thus, the Silurian's third eye went for... Oh, that's why they had the light. Yeah, okay. Identically to the Daleks.
Yep. I don't have much to say about that one.
Should we go through... Because I usually don't read out production errors, because I hate shitting on the production, but... Do you reckon we should do it for this one?
Maybe just a couple, not all of them.
During a close-up scene on a Silurian in Part 1, the actor's eyes are clearly visible behind the eyes of the Silurian head.
Oh, yeah. It's not as bad as... Oh, no, yeah.
A boom mic
I saw that. I did see that.
can be seen on the left side of the screen in the hallway scene, but prior to Turlo being rescued in Part 2.
I did see that.
You saw that?
Yep.
God. As the Silurian dies from hexachromite in Part 4, the zip of his suit can be seen.
I didn't notice that.
Vorshak refers to the Sea Devils by name without having heard it in advance.
Ah.
You know, that reminds me of Battle of the Bastards, when Sansa says, you haven't fed your dogs in weeks, even though no one told her that.
Yeah. But I suppose that could just be like a threat, whereas this is just a weird era.
Oh dear. This is a weird one. Tegan acquires a bra between parts 1 and 2.
Didn't notice.
Right, so we'll go into some continuity bits here. Obviously, he met the Silurians and Sea Devils before. When the Doctor, Tegan, and Turlough are cornered in the reactor room at the nearer end of Part 1, the Doctor says to Tegan and Turlough, "When I say run, run, run!" Remember that bit?
Yes, I do.
This quote was previously used by a second incarnation on numerous occasions.
Yeah, but it was funnier when he said it. Whereas in this one, it was played straight, which made it feel awkward and weird. So instead of him just going, "Run!" he said, "When I say run, run," even though the guy was about a foot from him. Whereas when the second Doctor says it, like it's usually played up a bit more for comedic effect because the second Doctor puts on this comedic facade when actually he's very, very intelligent. So I don't know.
Peter Davison actually performed the stunt where the Doctor jumps in the pool of water,
Good on him. That was a very impressive stunt.
which was ice cold. And he was assured that the water was warm, but the BBC didn't have the budget for warm water.
Oh no, that's horrible.
Wow. What a champ, though. The characters of Dr. Solo and Preston were at first male, but Pennant Roberts changed their gender. Interesting.
They were such bland characters that it wouldn't have made a difference either way.
Early in the production of this story, Margaret Thatcher announced a parliamentary election. This created a sudden demand for the BBC studio space, and as a result, the production schedule for this story was unexpectedly lost 2 weeks. Production was completed, but many signs of hurried production are evident. Many scenes had little or no rehearsal. Many scenes received only one take. Perhaps the biggest problem came with the Merca costume. Not perhaps, definitely. It was completed only an hour or so before it was scheduled to be used, so that the two puppeteers inside could not be fitted and had no time to rehearse it. The costume smelled strongly of paint and adhesive, which one puppeteer said made him feel like he was sniffing glue. The paint on the costume had not dried by the time filming started, intended to rub off on the sets and other costumes, as can be spotted in several scenes.
That's shocking. Not surprising. Bloody Thatcher. Of all the things she did wrong, stalling, screwing up Warriors of the Deep. Damn you, Thatcher.
Johnny Byrne wrote the story as a Cold War allegory. He wanted to explore the dynamics of a world in which two supremely powerful blocks sit in opposition to one another, each waiting for the other to pull the trigger. In particular, Byrne was interested in the notion that those in charge of the weapons might not be reliable in an atmosphere of such heightened tension. But there was no tension.
So his thing was about those who, like the Cold War in terms of how no one actually fired missiles, but they were threatening to. The Silurians were straight up going to fire those missiles. That's...
Didn't the humans already fire missiles?
They were going to. The missiles were the...
At the start, though, didn't they send it towards that ship underwater?
Or they shot beams, I think. It wasn't a missile. But the missiles... as a Cold War allegory, that doesn't really work because the Silurians were so ready to do it, and then the Doctor's only way of stopping them was, let's gas them. Which would have been an interesting story had that conflict been the story. But it wasn't. It was the conclusion. And it was just appalling.
Johnny Byrne intentionally avoided using any recognizable names for the two power blocks involved in this adventure. To this end, he implied that his supporting characters emanated from a variety of nationalities.
You can kind of see that in terms of, there was tons of different accents from the supporting humans, but,
Many in the cast and production crew have expressed a sense of disappointment with the quality of the finished show. The DVD commentary by visual effects designer Matt Irvin, script editor Eirich Sayward, Peter Davison and Janet Fielding contained many criticisms of Pennant Robertson's direction, of the story and John Nathan Turner's production of the program, as well as comments on the special effects, sets, and other production problems. The Merca specifically caused a great deal of amusement.
I might have to go home and listen to that commentary because that's actually no, I don't. No, I need to separate myself from this story for a while before I do that.
Johnny Byrne drew inspiration from Space 1999 Guardian of the Peri from 1975, which he script edited.
Oh yeah, I've only seen clips of Space 1999, so I don't know much about it.
Confirming what I was saying before, the story was largely rewritten by Eric Sayward, who added much more death and violence to it. But that didn't do anything.
No.
The plot bears a striking similarity to the final First Doctor story, The 10th Planet. Both feature the Doctor and his companions accidentally arriving at an isolated military base for being mistaken for spies, and in both stories the Doctor's warnings go unheeded until the base is besieged by an alien threat. In both, there is a section of the story where the alien invaders seize the bridge and the Doctor is forced by circumstances to stand by without interfering for a time. But the difference is, in the 10th Planet, the Doctor falls over and dies. That's why he's inactive.
Yeah.
The reason why the Doctor's inactive in this one is because the script is terrible.
The script says so he does it, as opposed to having an actual justification.
And the 10th Planet as a story plays out like real life.
And has so much atmosphere. It is dripping, like...
Mondasian Cybermen and the snow.
And didn't they alter the opening of the show to fit the fact that it was Cybermen now? Yeah, it was like a completely different atmosphere and vibe. And like, just from episode 1, the 10th Planet was just like, here we are. This is darker. This is something, some shit's about to happen.
Yeah, it was... The 10th Planet has this unique vibe to it that no other story has. Yeah. And even though the Doctor's barely in it, it's so much better than Warriors of the Deep by leaps and bounds. What it achieves with like the whole the human Cyberman conflict in the 10th Planet is far more interesting than
by miles
the Warriors of the Deep conflict. And I'm not just saying that because it's a historic episode for being the first with the Cybermen and the first regeneration.
It's a great series.
It's got this kind of observatory thing going on where it's like you are watching history happen, you know?
And it's a brilliant set of stories, like a set of episodes. It's well worth watching. Yeah. It's real good.
Yeah, and 60 Cybermen stories are just brilliant. Okay, this is interesting. David Warner, Simon Williams, Anton Diffring, Peter Gilmore, Peter Wingard, Patrick Stewart, Del Henney, Kenneth Colley, Gareth Hunt, Martin Jarvis, Brian Blessed, Patrick Maurer, Michael Craig, Stephen Burkhoff, and Paul Darrow were considered for Vorshak.
I'm glad none of them were cast.
Patrick Stewart in Warriors of the Deep.
That would have been so disappointing because they would have been not used at all.
He's never appeared in Doctor Who, has he?
No, Ian McKellen has, but only in voice.
Yeah, but not Patrick Stewart. That's sad.
One day we'll get you Picard.
God, it just gets worse. Look at all these names that are considered for these roles. I'm not reading all those out. Jesus Christ.
Take our word for it. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. So now we're going to go on to the viewership.
7 people.
7?
Yes.
Not far off. Part 1 got 7.6 million.
Oh, yeah.
Which is about double what the Leisure Hype.
Yeah. So it's like average. It's not terrible.
Watch this. Part 2, 7.5. Mm-hmm. Part 3, 7.3. Part 4, 6.6.
It dropped a whole 1 million viewers from 1 week. No, because they were I was reading up on this. They were broadcast 2 episodes a week. So it had 2 episodes 1 week and 2 episodes the other week. So it's not like it dropped off across 4 weeks.
Do you know what that tells me?
What?
It drops after part 3, which is where the story just dies.
Yeah. As soon as the running around stops. And even then, the running around's not good. But as soon as that stops...
In part 4, yeah, when it just becomes a talking episode.
And it's not anything interesting. So yeah, that's 1 million viewers dropped from episode to episode.
Mm. Yeah. Right, so would you like to give your conclusion and a rating out of 10 for Warriors of the Deep?
It's such an offensively passive episode for what it could have been, an interesting political or really whack sci-fi concept or an aggressive, grimy, gross horror story. All three of these things it could have been, but it wasn't. And I think that is partly to do with A, the poorly paced script across these 4 episodes, and B, the just shockingly bad production. It is just, when it's not bland, it's shocking, but not in a good way. It's not shocking as in, you killed Patty. It's just shocking as in terrible. It's appalling, and I could not stand it. It wasn't boring per se, but it was just so passive and so just going through the motions. And I've seen this before, done better. And this is just, okay, let's get it over with. Okay, let's get it over with. Okay, let's get it over with. Oh, it's done? Oh, okay. And 2 out of 10.
Warriors of the Deep is one of the worst Doctor Who episodes of all time. I lumped this down there with the likes of Sleep No More. 2 out of 10. Nothing more to be said.
Nope.
It's.
Is it worse than Hellbent?
No.
Nope.
No, it's not.
No, it is not.
Warriors of the Deep in real life damages the show, but within the context of Doctor Who, the story doesn't do the damage that Hellbent does.
Yeah. It's less of... Well, when we get to our actual Hellbent review, we'll actually give it a thorough breakdown of why everything we dislike, so we can actually have a comprehensive everything.
And also, this story doesn't trigger me like Hellbent does.
No. Yeah. This made me sort of like lethargic and Hellbent actively upsets me because it's wasted potential, going back on interesting storylines, making things pointless.
And there were at least some moments the way we were laughing.
Yeah, there were moments where we laughed at how bad this was, and at least yeah.
But that being said, it is terrible.
Yeah.
It's
So terrible.
it's as bad as Doctor Who gets, really.
It's a different kind of terrible. It's like being stepped on your left nut as opposed to your right nut. It's like just, they're both bad, but different.
Yep. Right, so now that we've discussed that, we now move to our next section, which is In Defense Of, where you guys suggest us an episode from New Who that you think's worse than Hellbent. And this week, as the suggestion by the YouTube channel called Nickname, he suggests The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe, the 2011 Christmas special. So this is what he has to say. I probably couldn't express all my thoughts about this episode properly, but here's what I came up with. The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe is an episode that's not very memorable. It highlights the spaceship blowing up in the beginning, and the Doctor meeting Amy and Rory at the end. Everything in the middle is a bore, and I feel that's due to the pacing. It's a bit more than that. Madge is an uninteresting and annoying character. Reg is a creep because he has followed Madge home every day through a forest until she decided to marry him. The sentient trees feel a bit pointless. The Androzani miners felt underutilized, especially Bill Bailey. Yeah. The boy in this couldn't act. The souls of the trees requiring a human host to survive is just bizarre, and that's not even including the jumping the shark moment of Reg flying his plane through the time vortex. Everything else is unmemorable, and those end up being the worst kind of episodes, compared to Hellbent, where you at least remember everything that happens, whether good or bad. You make some good points, but
I pretty much agree with all your points.
You make points. Yeah.
I pretty much agree with everything you said. However, I find the Doctor and the Widow and the Wardrobe does some shockingly bad things, like the going through the time vortex in the plane and the criminal underuse of the comic genius that is Bill Bailey. That
Just embarrassed.
Yeah, like and Bill Bailey seems like because he's professed before that he likes Doctor Who, and it seems like when he finally came on the show, he's like, "Oh, this is what I have." But no. In defense of why I think it's better, again, it's different kinds of terrible. Because when I say it's better than Hellbent, I'm in no way saying it's good. I hate The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe.
It's one of the worst episodes.
It's so irritating. It's an irritating episode. It's like, just
Worst Christmas special.
by far, it is the worst Christmas special by a long, 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 long shot. But it is consistently annoying, but it's not permanently damaging. And everything was within character. I found Matt Smith's version of the Doctor in this story quite irritating. But at least it was just a hyperbolic version of what Matt Smith normally is. It just didn't have the elements of the character that I normally like, which is the old man in the young guy's body. But it's consistent with who he is. It's not damaging. It doesn't damage episodes that come before it. It doesn't.
Not the Doctor in Hellbent.
It doesn't damage episodes that'll come later if they ever want to use. And it's dull and it's boring. It's irritating. But it's not offensive. It's not. It's not insulting. It's not. It's bad and shockingly so, and it feels lazy and rushed. But as a fan, when I sat down and watched it, I was like, okay. Because what did it follow? It came after...
Wedding of River Song.
It came after the Wedding of River Song. So it's like...
Closing time. And it comes before Asylum of the Daleks and Dinosaurs on a Spaceship.
So-
and Pond Life as well.
So it's in the middle of a...
I mean, unless I discover another, it's my personal low point of Doctor Who, where it's literally 5 episodes in a row of shit. Yeah.
Like, I think there's some good ideas in Wedding of River Song, but that's not what we had to talk about. But the thing is, Wedding of River... the Doctor, the Widow, and Wardrobe is a Christmas special, so it's not beholden to any stories that have come before it. So even though it is shit within itself, it's not shitting on brilliance that has come before or hindering potential brilliance that could come later. It's just shit in itself. It's a big old Christmas tree shaped shit. It's awful. Don't think I like this episode, because I don't. It's awful and I hate it. But it's not as bad as Hellbent, because it's not a middle finger to everything that was set up before it. It's not... It's just not as bad or as damaging. It's a different kind of terrible.
This may be reaching, but I kind of say with the Christmas specials, you have to give it, like, to some degree, you have to give it a bit of a pass for the cringe factor. Like, I don't really, because I do hate it, but I sort of, like, just the smallest amount, give it a little bit of leeway because it's a Christmas special and it's kind of supposed to be shit. It's really bad, but
I disagree with that defense.
yeah, it's not really a defense, but
the fact that it is a Christmas special and not a season finale gives it an advantage.
yeah, that's more what I was saying. Matt Smith in the episode is annoying, but like you said, at least he's consistent.
Yeah.
The Androzani people are wasted, but they're not as wasted as the Time Lords are in Hellbent.
And the thing is about the Androzani miners, they're just side characters in a Christmas special. They just show up for comedic effect and like, oh, we couldn't tell that she wasn't armed because of wool. Fuck off. Fuck off. That's stupid. And patronizing and wank. But sorry. Warriors of the Deep put me in an aggressive mood. But yeah, Hellbent wastes the Gallifreyans, and more specifically, Rassilon. And like it being a story that's not about Gallifrey per se, fine. But everything else it does is also... It's not even just as bad. It's worse. What it does beyond just dismissing who I think is one of the most interesting and has the most potential for great stories characters in Rassilon, but it goes inside and goes and veers in a complete direction, going back on the brilliance that was Heaven Sent, the brilliance that was Face the Raven.
The Doctor, Widow and the Wardrobe doesn't do that.
No, the Doctor and the Widow and the Wardrobe is patronizing to your intelligence, but it's not damaging to the show as a whole.
There's a couple of small things from Doctor and the Wardrobe that I thought were okay, like not terrible. The way that Moffat integrated the acid rain thing. It was sort of interesting.
It's just a shame that it had to come through the Crown communication.
Yeah. And I kind of like the concept of a Christmas present leading to a fantasy world.
That's a very sort of, and that's a thing. It's a fun sort of fuzzy idea.
Christmas idea, you know. And the scene where the Doctor visits Amy and Rory at the end is okay. It's nice feel good.
It's a nice, it's a nice upbeat way to. Even though it immediately goes into "fuck you, I'm getting a divorce, fuck you," but.
True, but that's Pond Life and Asylum of the Daleks.
Yeah.
The closest thing to Hellbent in this episode is the mum TARDIS thing. When they create a TARDIS using motherly love and fly it through the vortex to save their dad. I feel like that event is on par with the stuff that's bad in Hellbent.
It is.
But unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but because there's only one of them, and not however many, there's so many moments in Hellbent that are just so unforgivable.
Yeah, and baffling.
And with Doctor and the Widow and the Wardrobe, you only really get one, and that's the end. Yeah.
And it's this thing of, I think Moffat's thinking, I can't defend it, but trying to come from his perspective on the Doctor with the Widow and the Wardrobe is he wanted a feel-good Christmas conclusion. Even though he didn't think of the ramifications of that, by the giving characters too much power, and all that jazz, but which he would come... Yeah.
Law of time.
Yeah.
Who needs Omega when you've got motherly love?
Yeah, it's just, but as we said, it's an isolated incident in a crap story that's not got massive ramifications of the overarching story that was being played into it prior or after. It was never brought up again. It was kind of dismissed and everyone kind of forgot about it. Yeah.
And going back to what we were saying about the fun Christmas vibe, the thing is, with Hellbent, it's such a depressing story.
Yeah.
It's not feel good. It's not funny. It tries to be funny, but it's not. No. It for an entire hour. Well, I don't know about you, but for me and you, it makes us feel down. Yeah. At least Doctor the Widow and the Wardrobe has like a fun, sort of Christmassy. And
the thing is, the Hellbent's supposed to have like a bit of a dark tone. It's a sad finale, but it's supposed to be like it comes across like it's intended to be kind of like a Western adventure at first, and then a bit of a timey-wimey mystery thing. Oh, he's breaking the laws of time, but it comes across as patronizing and shoving this character down our throats who already had a brilliant send-off in Face the Raven, and going back on it 2 episodes later, and after already having the deep cuts of fucking with the Time Lords, who for 10 years up at that point hadn't been like longer because of the hiatus years, but in terms of the how many seasons, been waiting to see it again, and went back on his own story in terms of there's hope in the end of Day of the Doctor. He gets back to Gallifrey and is like, fuck you, let's go see Clara. And it's just
watch as opposed to the other, which is shit, but at least it's happy.
Yeah, it's fluff. It's inoffensive fluff.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about defending Doctor Widow and the Wardrobe before No? No?
I think I've said my piece.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, those are the reasons why we don't think it's as bad as Hellbent.
Still bad though.
It's still really bad though. Like, when I recently watched it, seeing that scene where Madge flies them through the vortex got me really triggered. Really triggered. It's bullshit. Anyway, now we're going to find out the next story we're going to be watching. What are you hoping for?
Oh, what's on the list? Oh god. No, I want Baker.
Even though the majority is filled up by Davison stories. Colin Baker or Tom Baker?
Colin. I want Colin Baker.
Yeah, personally, I don't know. For some reason, I've got this urge to see a Graham Williams, Tom Baker.
Okay.
I don't know why. I want to laugh.
Either way, we get Baker and we're satisfied.
I want to laugh again, because this was just so boring. I want to laugh again, you know?
Colony in Space was a good story, but it wasn't a very light one. It wasn't light-hearted per se.
Anyway, so let's find out.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a Baker, and it's not a Baker. It's a Troughton. It's one that I've actually seen before. The Dominators.
Hey, that camera.
Another season opener.
That's right. I'm pretty sure I've seen the Dominators as well, but we'll see.